Hey everybody, this is Perch. I'm here with Robert. How are you, Robert?
Not too bad. Not too bad at all. Yourself?
You know, it's been a crazy week. It's been an absolute crazy week. Sorry everybody for the late night stuff. It was a crazy day, and so it's translated to crazy night. But I'm glad for everybody who's joining us. Thanks for coming.
Yep.
Lord, I've got my second machine here, and I hate this ad. Anyway, well, cool. Nothing happened this week, right? It was a pretty quiet week. Yeah.
We all know what happened.
It's, what's funny though is, so I've been saying for a couple of weeks now that the DC solicits and the news would probably break, probably mid-October. It's mid-October. And yesterday when this news started coming out, I remember seeing this stuff and I was thinking, I wonder if anything is important in here. And I looked through it, and to me, it was non-eventful, I would say.
Really?
How did you feel? Well, I'll explain why, but how did you feel when you started seeing this? How did you feel when you saw all this?
I felt like this was, vindicating all the stuff that you've been saying, Wes was saying, all that. It felt like it was vindicating that, proving that this stuff, it wasn't going to be that bad. But at the same time, deep down, I was like, people are going to find a way to still complain about it. And sure enough, I was beyond more than right than I thought.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we've been talking about this for a while, or I've been talking about this for a while, and there's been a lot of people who've disagreed, but I guess I haven't paid much attention. And then it rolled out, and it's like, hey, it's 2 months, and a lot of people were surprised. But then the 2 months was kind of mentioned last week and the week before. So,
and yet, to some people, they still act like it's permanent.
Yeah, but like they've been saying this for a while, and then the comics came out, and it's like, all right. I mean, if anything, I was surprised it didn't go farther than it did.
Oh yeah,
it seemed pretty tame. I mean, all things considered.
And that the people that got, I was expecting a bit more obvious woke creators, to be perfectly frank. Those involved with it.
It feels like a lot of fill-in creators, to be honest. And if
but they're people who actually have had experience either writing comics in general or working on these actual DC characters in other media.
Yeah, absolutely. It looked pretty. I mean, when I say uneventful, my feeling is all the noise, all the attention, all the stuff that comes out over this, and 3 months from now, most attention will be on whatever March 2021 is going to look like with the new teams. And for a lot of people, I feel like this is going to be a little bit of a blip. Come and gone. I don't know. I'm missing some of the, like, there's a lot of this is the disaster in all disasters, but all things considered, I don't know. I'm not getting it. So what do I?
I'm not getting it either. I don't get it either. It's just seriously, because like I said, I saw people start saying, "Oh, they're tripling down. This is all woke, all that stuff," and I'm like, I looked at it. I'm like, it's 2 months. Most of these characters aren't going to last beyond that 2 months. It's just a nice little story and everything. It's basically 5G, but we're not getting those timelines forced on us.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's funny because I don't want to.
That surprised me, to be honest. The timeline not being involved surprised me.
This is going to be more time than I want to put into it, but maybe somebody else wants to. I think the general demographics, the racial and gender demographics, are not much different from what exists today. I may be nuts about that, but as I was trying to do a count, it's like, no, I think it's about the same. I think there's a slight increase in female characters, but barely. And otherwise, it's very close. I guess there's a slight racial increase, but not really, because
in a replacement, because the originals are still there.
Yeah, they're still there. So I guess I wasn't getting the hoopla of this, but what do I know? I don't know. It is what it is. I have a feeling the biggest reaction, you're going to read most of these comics, like Convergence, are going to feel like they're going to feel temporary. Like I think that's going to be the biggest problem with this series, is that it's going to feel like it doesn't matter. That's my take.
Except for the Batman books, because the editor said there is some stuff here that's been introduced, that's going to be introduced in here, that's kind of setting up or implying stuff that's going to happen in the regular line. Like we're going to see the end result or a possible end result of stuff that's going to be taking place in the present day after from March onward.
Sure. And I think we've seen some seeds of that already with the Foxes and kind of that family dynamic and other things. And I do wonder, there's a lot of speculation the new Harley Quinn is Punchline. So maybe that's a clue of where her story is going. To me, I can completely get the reaction of comic fans who are going, you know what? I don't like this because it's an interruption. I really I totally
I won't blame anyone that one. I will not blame anyone who will say, I do not like this as an interruption. What I do blame him for is, again, people saying it's a woke-a-palooza.
Yeah, I don't think it's any more or less than it was there before. So if you didn't like it before, you're not going to like it now, is my take. But
yeah, maybe I look through all the creators involved, and I'm like, okay, nothing really cringeworthy here. I mean, the guy writing The Flash, that's the co-producer of Young Justice, Brandon Veidt.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I do sympathize very, very much. I think one person here says, where'd it go? Oh, it's all gone.
Let me look. I'll look.
No, it's in here. There was a take here I completely agree with, which is, I don't know where it went. Now it's
made me think of Convergence, the kidney stones of DC stories.
No, this comment here. The only good thing, it's only 2 months long. I can understand that perspective from the standpoint of a lot of these characters were just starting to get in on their run. Like we feel like we're trying to tell a bigger story. A lot of new creators have shifted over to titles. I mean, I feel sorry for the writer who's on The Flash right now because he's getting Yeah, and then he's going to get interrupted, and then he'll come back onto this. I totally get that perspective. I hate this interruption stuff. I absolutely do. But I 2 months. I don't know. But hey, real quick, hey, what's everybody drinking tonight? I am slumming it with some beer here.
I'm just drinking a Coke.
Oh, good for you. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. It is. But I will say, if you happen to be in the Pacific Northwest area and you want to expose yourself to a virus, no, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding with all this. As things settle down, there is a brand new Chainline Brewing Company. I'm friends with the owner. It's a good place. They just opened up a brand new tap room in Kirkland. It's very, very fancy, very yuppie, but some nice, good beer. I recommend it. Some good, smooth stuff. Just having a nice, simple beer tonight. Nothing crazy.
So, may I ask you a question, Perch?
Yeah, absolutely.
And why do you think so many people are so upset about the forced legacy that Marvel? Yeah, they were doing. And Marvel was not really known for its legacies as much compared to DC. But it feels like ever since Marvel started doing a lot of that with Riri and everything, it's caused people to forget DC's long lineage of legacies to the point where now they are such knee-jerk reactions that they act like, why are they replacing them when it's like, DC's done this. They are the ones best known for the temporary replacements or sometimes permanent replacements. And the most Marvel did was Captain America giving up the costume for a while. I don't remember anyone else for the longest time doing that. So DC was doing that well before. Why do you think people have forgotten that?
Well, I mean, and at this point, I mean, both companies have done this for quite a while. I mean, we're talking in decades now that we've seen these kind of replacements, whether it's, Rhodey taking on the Iron Man armor or other things. I mean, at this point, if there's any kind of criticism I think that could be levied here, it's that, they're kind of going back to that same well over and over. Hey, Mr. Templesmith, it's wonderful to see you as well. I'm keeping myself healthy and safe, so I'm coming down to have that scotch with you. But good for you for tea. I'm going to finish this beer and then switch to tea myself. At any rate, it is I don't know. I mean, I think that the comic industry is weird because so many of these ideas have been recycled so much, but it seems like we can only remember things in kind of a 5 to 10 year time span. And then it's we get mad again. But a lot of these ideas are not terribly new.
Exactly. But just, again, it just feels like I said, people love that about DC today with the legacies. But nowadays, it's like you got to remind people saying, guys, DC's known for their legacies. Why is it even temporary jumps into the future showing legacy? Why are you guys treating this like it's brand new?
Yeah, yeah. I don't think. I mean, there's lots of things to complain about, certainly. But it seems like a lot of things that get a lot of energy are not necessarily the things to complain about. Good gravy. You're 3 a.m. in Germany. Well, good for you. Still up. Thank you for joining us all the way from Germany. I haven't been to Germany in. It's been a few years. I think 2017 was the last time I was out in Hamburg, and I missed that. If you ever get a chance to go to Germany, and in particular, kind of European Christmas markets this time of year or a little bit later, they're just.
Oh
they're,
yeah, I've heard. I've never been, but I've heard.
Oh my goodness, they're just great. You get to walk around with some Glühwein, and it's snowy out there, and you're drinking. Everything comes back to drinking, but it's just wonderful. Yes, absolutely.
Doesn't always come back to drinking.
I absolutely know Frankfurt. Frankfurt is the place I always usually fly in and out of. I can honestly say I've come to loathe that airport, but I do love the city. So some good stuff. All very, very good. Uh-oh, some people are saying, did we lose Perch? I don't think so. I don't know.
No,
Yeah,
you're fine.
At the end of the day, if people didn't have something to complain about, they have nothing to talk about. I mean, there is a lot of that. I'm going to throw out a weird idea that will probably make a bunch of people in the stream mad, and then some other videos will get made on me over what I'm about to say here. But I think that one of the crazy things that goes on right now with the big two is they have forfeited their marketing of their products to Bleeding Cool and to Newsarama, and frankly, the big YouTubers. I think DC completely lost control of Future State and what it was supposed to be, and they allowed these news sites and then YouTubers to be their marketing department. For all intents and purposes, Ethan Van Sciver is the marketing department for DC right now. He is setting their message.
Wrong message.
Yeah, but it's like, take control of your brand at some point. If you're Marvel or DC,
I think because they don't want to acknowledge Ethan anymore.
No, well, of course, but I'm being a little tongue in cheek with Ethan, but I mean, it's like I think that like the Richard Meyer is that guy. He does more marketing, and it hurts them because he's roasting their books than the company does, and like the YouTubers are running the marketing of the big two, and it's like they're not in control of their message. I mean, DC is playing cleanup with Future State that they did not need to be able to do.
True. Although, to be fair, I think some of that cleanup more also came out of the fact that was the Dio's idea, and because I don't think they were going to go with it all the way once the Dio was gone.
No, for sure. No, I mean, with all, I think things change to some extent, but as things are changing, I mean, Didio this was February, or when was he ousted? It was February, right?
Thereabouts, yeah.
I mean, we've had a few months to like get control over this thing. I'm just saying.
Yep, and then you have all COVID.
Yeah, no, for sure. But it'd be like imagine, if you will, this would be a really poor analogy, but I'm going to do it anyway. Imagine if Coke, the pop soda company, started saying that if you drank Pepsi, it would give you cancer. Just imagine for a minute.
That would be a disaster.
Yeah.
A PR disaster.
No, but imagine, and then imagine if Pepsi said, "Well, I don't know, we can't respond to that," and then just stayed silent for 9 months.
No, they would never do that.
No, but like, come on, at some point it stops being Coke's problem and it starts being like Pepsi. Like, get control of your own brand.
I think they underestimated how the influence they were having.
Yeah,
that's what I think. I think they underestimated it.
It's nuts. I mean, and yeah. Corporate comic publishers had marketing before. It's been a long time, and it's like the crazy part is if you work in like software or you work in pharmaceutical. I mean, imagine if you're working in the marketing department for some pharmaceutical that's making, I don't know, like eczema cream or whatever. Your job as a marketing department is tough. Like, you got to make ads for products nobody really wants, but I guess they need, and I like that. That sucks if you're in that group. But for comics, you're dealing with like the biggest, coolest brands in the planet in a lot of cases, and what are you doing? Like what are you doing? And you're absolutely right. Game companies, it's a lot of companies have completely handed over their marketing to other people. And, you know, I mean, it's their fault. Like, I'm sorry. Yeah. It's the companies
Yep.
are no longer the companies aren't driving their product. These other people, I mean, YouTube and all the rest of that stuff, it's like, you know, they're motivated very clearly by making money. You know, they're going to make ad revenue, they're going to make they're going to grow subscribers, all the rest of that kind of stuff. Their path for why they're doing this is very clear. What's not clear to me is why, you know, the big two are just largely letting them do it and just stepping back and letting somebody else control a message. Very weird. Anyway, but back, I want to get your reaction to this. So I did this. Oh, what am I doing now? There we go. I've got too many things going on.
I saw your video.
Yeah. So let me actually before that. So just for reference, here's a bunch of future state books. Curious what people think in the chat. I threw people by being late, so I haven't got as many people in the chat this time. But any of these books, do any of these books excite you? Like who's blown? I'll admit, I think that I know what they're doing with Wonder Woman as a new character is probably more interesting than a lot of the other big titles to me. I don't bringing John Kent back. I think this would have been so much more powerful with John Kent and Connor if they hadn't aged him. And this was the first time we were seeing him older. What do you think?
I agree with that. I definitely do agree with that. That's how it should have been. But I will say this: I'm excited for all of these. I'm definitely going to be getting all of these because I'm just curious on what they're going to do, what they're going to tell. Even by looking at the covers, I'm just curious. I am curious at the very least.
Mm-hmm. There's a pretty mixed reaction.
Yeah, I mean that's how I am.
It's
Oh, I know. I agree, and again, if the mixed reaction is in it because of they just don't like how it looks in general, that's fine. Yeah. Like I said, if they're going for the whole it's woke, then no.
Well, you know,
Horizon. It's like Horizon. There is Justice League Dark. It's one of the secondary story in the Justice League book.
Yes, it is. It's appearing in Justice League. So a couple of these books, and we'll show it in a minute, are bigger. I think they're 48 pages and they're more expensive. I think these are the $5.99 books, and they have a backup story.
Yep.
And Justice League Dark is showing up. I got all
the prices.
Yeah. The Justice League Dark, I think, is showing up. It is in Justice League, and it's their backup story. So we will get some Justice League Dark with a different team and everything else. But anyway, I don't know. It's 2 months. I think it's easily forgettable if you don't care. You know, the one that is Green Lantern to me, honestly.
To a degree, but I'll be honest, I've been liking Far Sector. Okay, hold on. Sorry. Stan Hooper, really? Andy Curry is way too close to Andy Corey. I don't think that was intentional. I don't think that was intentional at all. And at least they're keeping it that. Oh no, I know, but that sounds like it's like they already named the character during the run. This is not the first time we're seeing her name.
Yeah. No, what I mean by Green Lantern, not Joe, not the Farscape or Far Sector, not Farscape.
Far Sector, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean the Green Lantern.
I missed that show.
It's but in the Green Lantern actual title, it is it's Green Lanterns and the rings don't work and they're stranded is the storyline, and I feel like
what else is new?
Yeah, I mean, like I feel like that is like the most.
Ethan worked on the last time.
Yeah,
Ethan worked on that last time when they were stuck in another universe.
Yeah, there's just been too much. I'm ready for something new there. I don't know, and I guess the pictures I don't have it. The Superman Worlds of War, Superman over on War World. I don't know.
And why is he wearing the Kingdom Come Superman outfit?
Well, he's wearing like no shirt and the shield's like hanging off him like a necklace. So.
But that's the Kingdom Come shield, though. That's the Kingdom Come shield.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, some interesting stuff here. I think it either works for you or doesn't. Like I said, if I think of it, the part I've been telling people kind of all day for the last 2 days is if it doesn't work for you, it's 2 months. I have my doubts most is carryover, although I do think the new Wonder Woman, they'll do something with her. There's too much investment into that character, Dab would be 2 months and gone.
And I think Batman will too.
But I think with Batman,
will, I think
they've got an easy path to spin that into just being kind of Batwing or Luke Fox doing other things. Yes, I will talk.
And then now Imperius. I am curious on the fact that Imperius Lex is the only one that's a 3-issue monthly, so it's going to go into March.
Yeah, I think there's 1 week though. I think there's it's that first week of March that gets a couple titles bleeding into it.
Right.
And I think there's a couple.
Yeah, but you see, this is Mark Russell's last work though.
Is it? Oh, I didn't know that.
Do you think it will be? Do you think it will be since he's no longer because
yeah, probably.
The deal gone and all that.
I think most of the creators we're seeing on these titles won't. A lot of them will not carry over into March. I think that the big runners, the big people who are doing titles in March, are busy working on those books, and that's same thing with artists. I think we're going to see, a lot of the creative teams we're seeing in these 2 months are not going to be the creative teams we see ongoing for 2021.
The only thing I'll say is I think all the stories here, all of them, are going to be better than all of those Futures and one-shots.
The Futures in one-shots were not very good, and I think it didn't help the DC get the legs out from under them right away too.
Yep, I think these are going to be all better than those one-shots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's I don't know. It's funny because on one hand, they're trying some new stuff. On the other hand, it's always the case with comics. But here's what I want to get to. I did do that other video, so I won't spend too much time on this. This is this one graph, fine. This is the other one. What do you think? So the cost. So this is in January. If you go all in on Future State, and to be clear, DC is not saying you have to buy them all. Nobody's saying that. But $125.
I am.
Yeah, that's quite a bit, don't you think?
Oh, I agree. But for me, I already added all of them up because I always plan on ahead with my comics are going to be grand total, and and just on that alone, and I don't think I'll be getting many other IDW or Marvel books that time. That's standard for me for each week.
Yeah. Oh, fair enough. Yeah. I mean, I think there are. It's interesting. I guess the part for me that I mentioned in the video earlier today is that the stuff to watch is the 7 books at $5.99, the 3 books at $7.99. And I think DC is itching to just bump that $3.99 price point up $1 and get into $5. I think that's, and I would be completely unsurprised if 2021, the new ongoing series, just start at $4.99.
And if that happens, that's going to be painful. I will be honest, but I'll be also saying this. I think Marvel's kind of giving them no choice in that regard, given how Marvel's kind of made that the new standard.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, that is the price point Marvel's at. It gets back to that old argument, and unfortunately, I've talked about it a few times. Many have. These comics, by the way,
these Horizon Black Label. Yeah. Black Label. They vary anywhere from $3.99 to $7.99. Yeah, there's a range. They're not all the same price. No. Yeah, it depends on the thickness. It depends on the binding, the size.
Yep. In this, the interesting part is, and this is kind of a detail, is a lot of the comics that feature the legacy characters, and read into this what you will, meaning existing Clark Kent, existing Diana, maybe existing Batman, we don't exactly know there. Those tend to be the higher priced books. And the ones featuring the newer characters tend to be the $3.99 books. And it's hard to tell if that's just kind of how it all shook out, or if there's like some recognition that, hey, the long term, the people who are committed to the legacy characters are likely going to feel committed to pay more. Or anyway, this is something to kind of watch just as this goes on. There isn't a great answer for price yet. It is amazing that we're entering 2021, and it still feels like the comic companies do not have a good handle on where the price is going. It still feels very tricky there. And then this question here, isn't this almost being like Marvel with so many events back to back, death metal leading into future? Yeah, no, it is.
Yeah,
it is, absolutely. We live in the age of
no. I won't argue that it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're in an age of constant events, and I mean that's Unfortunately, the consumers have taught the publishers that they're willing to pay and go in, and so the sales numbers reflect the events and the relaunches, and the comic companies are responding. It's gonna be
But to
tough
be
to break
fair, unlike Marvel, where these were all these big events and these were all main events, I always look at it this way. There are two types, and there are three types of events. You have your big main event, you have your line event, and then you have your broad event. Like, for example, Year of the Villain, that was a broad event. That was not a main event. That was not a line event. Joker War was a line event. And then, of course, Death Metal is a main event. Marvel's had a bunch of main events, one after the other. DC has been more broad and line events, with Death Metal being the first main event in a while.
Yeah, to some extent. I mean, yeah, I think Marvel's done a bit more, but DC is definitely trending that direction. I think Spider-Man's done an inline event. You could argue either way about Dawn of X. If that's, I would argue that's more of a big crossover, but a lot of people at Marvel would argue that's inline.
Yeah.
It varies.
That's a line event. That's an ongoing line event. That's a line event.
As a heads up here, yes, you can get all these future state books if you hurry for $80 to $85. So you can get a pretty substantial discount if you order them all in mass from Midtown. And I think there's a couple others running these promotions. If you guys are in the Pacific Northwest, Golden Age Collectibles right now is doing some pretty nice package deals, and that's there's a bunch. You should ask your comic shop what they would give you if you did everything. So
right. They probably ask you the price up front, though.
Oh, for sure. Well, yeah, many will. I think Midtown probably wouldn't, but a lot of the smaller guys are going to want that money for sure.
Yeah, my store would.
If I'm subscribed to a series like Nightwing or Catwoman, will I get the future state issues? That is completely dependent on your shop, and you should ask. More shops lately have, and I think I did a video about this, are basically not giving you those because they've been burned too often by these reboots and relaunches, and then they automatically carry it over for a customer, and the customer gets pissed. And so more often than not, the shop is removing you. If the book reboots or it does this kind of interruption, they don't pull them for you. It depends on your shop. You should ask and find out.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm. No, go ahead.
Sorry, I was saying, in my experience, yeah, they're not going to. But if the title picks up again in March, they will. They'll pick it back up then.
Right.
That's not during those 2 months.
That will happen. But it is, as the publishers are not making it easy for comic shops right now, because they are moving things around a lot, and it's tough to. It's annoying. I'll be honest. It's annoying for me. Back when I was running a shop, it's going to be annoying for me in a couple months when I reopen. And the reboots and the constant relaunches are a headache. No doubt about it.
Okay. I gotta ask. Sorry. I gotta ask. Sorry. I gotta ask. Am I the only person who is a big multiverse fan who always gets a kick out of it? Because that seems to always be something I see people complain about when it comes to Death Metal and all that. They say, "I'm sick of the multiverse. I'm sick of it." It's like, am I the only one that always loves the multiverse and gets a kick out of it?
No. I think no. I mean, enough people like it that they keep going to it. I think they've gone to. To me, it feels like they've gone to it a little bit too much lately. Like it used to be something I think a little bit more special that they dip into, and lately it's kind of been constant. Not a bad thing, but it has been pretty constant. So I hope
like the dark multiverse idea. Sorry.
Yeah. No, there's been some really good stories coming out of all this. I think there's definitely been some good stories. It is probably time for a break, I would say, after this one.
I think probably will. They probably will after this. Yeah.
I'd hope so. I hope so. You need to put some stuff out. I think DC should go back to the Elseworlds books and just kind of commit to that. I think Marvel should commit to a decent What If book and put some quality people on it. And I think that would be a good plan. But I think you should back away a little bit. They've just done a little too much constantly. In my mind, anyway.
I see some other comments as well.
There are some other comments. Real quick to this one. I mean, DC. they may be out of their mind, but for the last year and a half, they've been selling these $8 to $10 anniversary issues, and they've been their top sellers. So they again, they've been trained.
And I say this: so long as they have enough of a page count, I will buy them if it has a good enough page count.
Yeah, yeah. I do. I think the page count definitely does count here. Yeah, Death Metal, Endless Winter, Future State. The interesting scheduling problem I see is that Endless Winter is meant to kind of be a stopgap for half the books. Well, not quite half the books, to get them through the conclusion of Death Metal into Future State.
Yeah,
and you immediately go to what feels like another somewhat stopgap between the end of Death Metal and the new comics launching in March, and that's a lot of spinning wheels. Now, hopefully these stories will be really good. Endless Winter, hopefully that's a good, solid JLA story. I would love for just to be a good, solid comic. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so lots of good comments here. DC,
Yep.
What do we got here? DC has a lot of big crisis events, but not being called crisis, and then they have books with crisis. And I mean, Scott Snyder said that he's wanting to make the crisis name mean something again, and have it be a big deal.
Called it an anti-crisis.
Yeah, but
anti-crisis.
It's also called Death Metal, and it's like, I mean, I hear you, but I think that ship has sailed. Quite frankly, I think that the crisis ship they've gone. They've moved on at this point. I don't know. I'm going to shift over here real quick. We could keep talking about this, but I like to put these up. Again, if you like this stuff, the Rack Spinner on Twitter pretty much daily puts out comics. These are just comics that came out in years past. It's always fun to kind of have in the background as we talk about these things. I remember that Star Wars book. I loved that Star Wars run during that time period, but that was the forgetful, nobody cared about it run for sure.
I know some of these, like the Phoenix one, of course. And,
well, sure. Return of
Silver
Phoenix.
Centurion armor, my favorite. Yep, I was saying the Silver Centurion armor, my favorite Iron Man armor.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. There's some good. I mean, this was a lot of good stuff. You had Secret Wars 2, not quite as popular as the first Secret Wars, but you did get a pretty nice X-Men run of this. I loved this run of Thor with Curse. I think this was when Walter Simonson was killing it on that book.
Yep. Oh, yep. I have the omnibus of that.
Yeah, that's some good stuff. What do you think? Here we go. We got a bunch of. Do you think that the promo pic is hinting at a Luke Fox Diana relationship? No, but maybe.
I've seen people point this out. They point how it looks like Batman is throwing a Wonder Woman style batarang, and how with Wonder Woman you see a little bat symbol on her belt buckle or something. That's where people are getting that from. I don't think so. I see people are reading into that.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Maybe they just traded pants. Heroes will do that from time to time. Trade up things, they go into.
Yeah, but again, I don't think so.
I don't know. It would be, if so, I think Diana is off planet. So this would be, I guess new Wonder Woman, old Wonder Woman. I don't know, but it's a lot to cram into 2 months. And my feeling is a lot of this stuff, going to be pretty light.
I gotta say this, when it comes to new Wonder Woman, I saw Bleeding Cool kept saying it was going to be a non-binary character.
I mean,
I'm sorry, I had to poke fun at that. I had to poke fun at that because remember how everyone was making that big deal? It's like, again, this is proving how much bunk that Bleeding Cool stuff was, and yet you're still people were taking it like it was fact that this is, instead of proving what you were saying right, they're saying this was proving what Bleeding Cool was saying right. It's where did they get that idea?
No, time will tell. I mean, It is what it is. These sites run on ads, so we'll get to this about bit as in a set. But what do we think DC will look like out of it? So, what is speculation? After all this is said and done, we hit March. What do you think that DC is going to look like?
I think it's not going to be that much different from where we're at as far as writing goes. As far as stories and everything, I think they're going to go through probably have some status quo going forward about where things stand and all that. But I think in the end, Death Metal, I still think it's going to have an impact as far as in the end leaving the toys all out for everyone to use. But that doesn't mean that it's going to be a people are going to focus on the events of the story itself.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm thinking. I think that it's just going to go forward with a new, kind of, it's like everything would happen after Infinite Crisis and all that. You have a new thing, status quo of where things go, or better yet, post Zero Hour, where you had a status quo of things. You had this event that happened, but things moved on, not that different from where they were before Zero Hour.
Sure. Yeah, I think.
Let's be honest, Zero Hour was more of a fixing problems than it was actually,
I think what you're going to see is you're going to see the one thing that I think DC is tipping their hands a little bit is in how they're listing this stuff. And I think it's a bit of a trial balloon, or it's their way of seeing how people are going to respond to it, where you will have a very firm established Batman universe. You'll have kind of a Superman, Wonder Woman group that they're marketing. And then you have like a Justice League, which will be a catch-all for everything else. And I think you're going to see.
Which is what they did with New 52.
Yeah, I think you'll see. So I think that's what you're in for. I think that you're going to get a lot of attention to Batman. I think the Batman universe as it exists post Future's End will be bigger than before. They're going to add some titles there. They're going to do stuff with Cassandra Cain and Spoiler, and I think and Damian probably. They're just going to get a lot more there. And then I think you're going to get they're going to try and right the ship, I think, a little bit with Superman. I don't know if it will be Venditti, but somebody is coming in to do Superman and try and get that one back on the rails, I think, and something that feels good to AT&T and movies. I think that's what you're going to get.
Oh, and I agree. I think that going forward, I think we're going to have a lot less of the we're having this and this movie's out, but the show doesn't match up. But the movies, this movie's coming out, but the comics don't match up. Yeah, I think we're going to get less of that.
Yeah, I do too. I think you're going to get. I think you're going to get a lot more closer stuff. I do think it's not an accident that they're going to strip Batman down and have him be a little bit more gritty, more street level. And the new Batman movie is promising to do the same thing. I think that there is that is intentional. Where they're going with that, they're going to take away.
Alfred's going to somehow come back.
I don't. No, I think they're leaving him.
Alfred's going to somehow come back after all that. You don't?
I don't. I mean, it would be nice, but I don't think he's coming back. No.
I've said it though. Here's my prediction: if they ever brought him back, they just make him the outsider again.
Yeah, they could do that. Yeah, I mean,
they did it before. They did it before.
They did. Yeah, they did. I mean, anything is possible. And I think if there's a desire to have Alfred be, in more than just the Alfred show, but a bigger deal within DC Media, I think he'll be right back. But I do think that what we're seeing out of Batman in Future State is going to be at least a pretty good. I think they're going to get Batman at odds with the police more again. And I think it's going to feel very, very similar to the movie. And I think that's what we're after. I mean, that's what they're promising, or that's what kind of they've been leading up to at the end of Joker War and everything else. So I think that's where we're headed.
Now, what about with Bendis on Superman?
Well, I mean, Bendis is off Superman now, so we don't know where Bendis is going other than he's promising.
I meant Legion.
Legion. I would love for that to move on and have a completely different direction. But I think until somebody in Warner Media decides they want to do a Legion cartoon or TV show or do something with that property, I think it's going to just kind of float along until it gets canceled. Honestly.
Yep. Do you think Bendis is going to stay on it though, or do you think he's going to be off of it soon?
Well, I mean, he is on it for the Future State, and so in theory he's going to do more. I don't know. I think I've heard two different stories, which I think I've mentioned before. One is that Bendis is going to do kind of black label limited things, and he's not going to be on any ongoing for a variety of reasons. And then I've heard increasing stories lately that he's going to be the Justice League writer, and he's going to be kind of helming that. And they're going to try
no.
The Avengers magic, where
no, because that's again. if there's anyone more cosmic than the Avengers, it's the Justice League, and his ground of first take is not going to work.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think we'll have to play out. I definitely think that if you look at where things are going and kind of the creators are being set up, I think it's a safe bet to assume that Venditti is going to be on something significant. I think Robinson's going to be on something significant. Bendis is out there. What's that? Williamson. Sorry, what did I say? Robinson.
You said Robinson. I don't know if
not
James
Robinson.
Robinson still doing anything yet.
Yeah, Williamson. Sorry.
I hope James Robinson does more.
I think Williamson will be there. I think that Mariko Tamaki is getting good reviews over at DC. I think she's going to continue with Wonder Woman. You know, I don't know. There's some shuffling names. I'm curious to see where it goes. Seems like Snyder is not coming back into the mix with a major title, although he could go and do something like Nightwing or one of the kind of the B series. I don't know, but and then of course, you know, the other I have to say it, you know, Mark Waid is floating around in here. He's not on any of these Future State books, which is, you know, an interesting clue that perhaps he's gearing up for a bigger run on something.
Yeah, but again, I think obviously since these books came around during the Dio's time, there's no way in hell you would have been Wade there anyway.
Yeah. So it is,
because
DC getting smaller. So I mean, one other message here. I mean, they were publishing the 52 comics a month. We're down to, I think, 38 or so through this.
When was the last time they did 52?
It's been a while. It's been about a year and a half, I think. So
yeah,
I don't think it's a bad thing if they can keep the quality up. They can really push some stuff out, have a streamlined. It's not a terrible thing to reduce. I do think 10 bat titles. God, I hope 10 bat titles is too many. But again, that's where their bread is buttered right now. So, you know, that's where we're at. Anyway, it's an interesting time. Somebody asked earlier, so we should jump over and talk about it a little bit, is King in Black and where are things going with King in Black and
oh yeah, Marvel. I loaded up those.
Yeah. Oops, sorry. Yeah. So it's running through March.
I don't know if I got cut off.
Oh, you did get cut off. What were you going to say?
Hold on. I'll be right back. I think I'm getting delayed. Hold on.
All right. He's got a microphone issue. We'll be no problem. We'll keep going here. So in terms of King in Black, so King in Black is we are seeing the January titles, and the January titles are, I would say, is really the first month that we're getting all the crossovers. It is not it's obviously starting in December. We get a couple issues out in December, but King in Black is January is the first month where we start seeing all the spinoffs, the anthologies, kind of the other stuff that's pretty common for a Marvel event. I think that in terms of King in Black, I think it's going to run through kind of February and into March, potentially a little bit, and hopefully it keeps interest up. I'm from my own perspective, I'm seeing interest wane a bit from when it was first announced to today. Now that some of the titles are being announced and kind of rolled out, there seems like there's a decreasing amount of interest than increasing. But maybe this is just the people I've been chatting with, the shops I've been talking to. You're back, Robert. I don't know if you have a take on this with King in Black.
I'm back. I'm right here. Yeah, I'm fine. I think I had to switch over my Wi-Fi on my phone. It turns out I had it set to my data plan, hence why I probably sound a little staticky or whatever. So I turned it on, but in doing so, it caused a bit of a slowdown on my phone. So I had to exit off and back on.
No problem at all. No problem at all. So what do you think? What are you following King in Black?
King in Black. I am only following the Venom books, and I've been following Venom books for a while. I have not been buying them. That tells you where I've been reading them, but I have been keeping myself along with it. I am interested in it. But given how we're already told that King in Black's going to am I still here?
Yep, you're here.
Hello?
Absolutely. Yeah, you're here.
Sorry, I
All
wanted.
fine.
Sorry, I saw. Sorry, I better say that but didn't they already say after King Black they're going into Venom 300 or 200 or whatever or whatever
Mhm.
100 in the centennial number? You're like, oh boy, they're getting ready to lead into another story, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a big status quo shift changing. So, in terms of where King and Black's winding up, we at least have the one clue that it is going to change the Venom status quo pretty significantly, and we're going to get a new storyline, new arc, new mandate, new mission, all new, all different, whatever it happens to be for Venom, coming out of King and Black, and that will launch into more stories, and that'll be the anniversary issue. So we're kind of pegging where things are going. Donnie Cates is saying that kind of the even bigger story he's always wanted to tell will start to play out in that anniversary issue. So who knows? We get a third event coming up here. the never ending kind of Venom leading to big events.
Actually, just to tell this comment, there is technically a Deadpool parody called Red Tool, so technically
That's true.
you have that love triangle.
There is Red Tool. Yeah, Red Tool is a Deadpool parody that's involved with a Joker Harley. I don't know if that. I wonder if that character is going to come back. Anyway, I switched screens here to some DC titles for a change. This was an interesting.
He's already around in the Black Label book.
Oh, is he? Okay, good. Yeah, so he's there. No, he shows up from time to time. I don't get a sense if it's just kind of a bit character, if they're going to do something more. I would imagine it's just a parody character. But there were some really awesome DC
I think
comics.
I'm having a delay again. I think there's another delay.
Okay. Well, I'll keep going and we'll figure it out. Okay. For those of you, no problem. For those of you in the chat, yeah, there's a bunch of Batman here. Some really iconic Batman covers here. I love the one with Poison Ivy right down there in the upper right corner. Some pretty nice stuff. This was a nice era for Batman and for covers in general. It's funny to see the Bat and the Cat. A lot of people have commented that Tom King kind of inflicted that on us more recently with his run, but that they were doing Bat and Cat. Not as not in a love story, of course, but definitely it was showing up in covers and in other things. And yeah, somebody's saying the Who is Donna Troy that was running in the Titans was one of the cooler storylines, and not one that got a lot of press. I mean,
I'm back. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I apologize.
I remember that story.
Yeah. It was. There was some good stuff in here. There was definitely some good comics here. I have this feeling like there's a lot of really solid stories, really good things that are suffering a little bit because they're not being collected, they're not being put out, and it's a little bit hard to get your hands on them. And in many cases, it's a prime opportunity to go to some of those, like that Titan story, the Who is Donna Troy story, that I think a lot of people today would really dig, and be able to kind of do a director's cut version of that, clean it up, reprint it, put it in hardcover, and make it kind of an event of this unearthing of a story. Get some interviews from the collectors.
Yeah.
I think you could do that. So
definitely. Now they're already doing that with the I keep on seeing something called a delay, man, because it seems like every time I start talking, it feels like it's taking a while for it to catch up to you.
Well, if it gets too bad for you, no worries. We can try this another week, but let's just see how.
Oh no! I'm fine. I don't know what the connection issue is. I just don't want to keep accidentally cutting you off by starting to talk, and then my voice catches up when you're when.
Yeah, don't worry about that. We're drinking. I don't care. I mean, it's all. I don't care. It's all good.
Here's a question. What would you say is one of the worst events DC's done? Because I always keep hearing people saying Millennium was one of the worst.
Millennium, I did not enjoy Millennium. I didn't enjoy Identity Crisis, but a lot of people don't enjoy that one. What's funny is I didn't enjoy Flashpoint, and I think in that one, more people disagree with me. Yeah.
Yeah, but as far as overall though, with the older events like around Millennium, when they would do those big summer events, like in the annuals and all that, Eclipso and everything. Do you think DC had a good thing going back then, or do you think a lot of those felt just as annoying as current events?
I think that it was a mixed bag. I mean, I like the War of the Gods bit that they did. I like some of those old events. I think they had good ones and bad ones. I think no company's had a great track record with stuff.
Sorry, someone just mentioned Panic in the Sky. Hell yes.
Yeah, absolutely. No, there was some good. What's funny is that if you go back, I don't know. There's been hit and miss events a ton over the last, I don't know, 40 years. And it's not, none of this is new that we have hit and miss today. I don't know what I'm talking about right now. I'm trying to kind of remember some of the things.
I know, Jimmy.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. By the way, some more people joining. Thank you for coming, by the way. I appreciate you spending some of your Friday night. I realize it's late, so thank you for that. Absolutely cheap beer counts. I'm kind of drinking cheap beer right now, so that's all good. And we did do a lot of talk about future state at the beginning of the show. So by all means, come on. You can loop. So we'll hit some of that again. But we did talk for almost a good solid hour about future state. So we'll.
Less than an hour.
About 45 minutes, I would say. It's all good.
Yeah, thereabouts.
But yeah, it's
Nola is sorry.
No, go ahead.
I said with the Nola is back or whatever. Again, I'm just curious where Case is going with this, because with Carnage, it was one thing. I mean, it was one thing to have it be that they subverted by having it be, oh, you thought you stopped it, you did it, you caused it. But at the same time, it's like, really? Did you have to subvert that?
Yeah, no, it was funny. The one thing I noticed about a lot of events, particularly in the 80s and even some of the 90s, is that they moved along at a faster clip. And if there's one thing that I wish we would go back to a little bit, is there's this desire to kind of stretch things out and deconstruct and really go to that well with everything. And I think you can look back on some of these events in the 80s that went on, and they were a lot faster paced, a lot quicker. And I really appreciated that. I don't think you should throw away all deconstruction. Some deconstruction's great, but it's today the go-to is to case in point. And I know there's some X-Men fans who definitely disagree with what I'm about to say. The Ten of Swords event that's going on right now. There's some chapters in there like the one like Cable this week that didn't really need to be in that event. It vaguely crosses over. Maybe it's going to be more relevant later, but in the past, these would have been tie-ins or just kind of referred to. There's just
oh yeah,
it's too much.
I agree. I am not going to argue that. I miss the older days. Like when I had you on my show, I brought up the Messiah story, trilogy and everything. That one felt like it was a good worthy enough to the old days of having all of them up across the lines. You know what I mean? Where each book actually mattered.
I know, absolutely. And there's a story event. I haven't seen them do it as much. Now, somebody in the chat will quickly correct me here, but one of the things I really like about Fall of the Mutants, that storyline, is that you had three main titles. You had X-Men, X-Factor, New Mutants. And each one was a three-part story, and they did a lot in those three issues for each one. Now, they cheated. All of them had some lead-ins to those stories, but X-Factor in particular, first battle against Apocalypse, the change of the Four Horsemen, Archangel is death. I mean, just there's some major stuff that went down. And certainly the event was better if you read all 9 issues, but it was you ran 3 kind of independent, powerful stories in parallel. And I think that was a really, really powerful way to do things. And I wish we could get back to that.
Oh, I agree with you completely on that. I mean, I've never fully read Fall of the Mutants, but I know about what happened in it, and it was just very good. Hell, I mean, I think when you mentioned War of the Gods, I think War of the Gods is one of those storylines that should have been great, but got bloated way too much. I compare that one actually to Ten of Swords.
Yeah, well, that's true. It did bloat, and I think I don't know. The great part about these events in comics is over time there is usually something that appeals to everyone. I was noticing in the chat, I didn't care for Flashpoint. There's a couple other people who didn't care for Flashpoint in the chat. There's a couple other people who absolutely loved it. And that's awesome. I mean, if it worked for you, great. I think it's healthier when we have, we don't love every event. We don't hate every event, where there's, favorites that people remember. I think that's a healthy thing. So I'll cover this because the news is about Future State. We talked about it, but we didn't really hit this. How well do we think it's going to sell? How well do you think it's going to sell?
I'm not sure. That's the big problem with this. I don't know how it's going to sell. The more expensive books. Oh, I'm sure with the Batman one's going to probably sell the best. The Superman one, probably not. I think people might at the very least go for the cheaper books just because they're a cheaper price range. There might be some people like myself who'll be completionists. I have no idea.
Yeah. I think the numbers will closely resemble what we see now. I think the Batman comics are going to be the leads there. I think it will break down very, very similar. I'll do this, and we'll do it here in this chat. Maybe we'll run, I don't know, fantasy football style booking of this event. And I'll do that in like a week or two, put some plans together, and we'll predict the sales. Because I think you can go back and you can look at kind of how the comics are selling, and I think you can do a projection, probably get pretty close. I have a feeling I don't think it's going to get a lot of crossover, meaning I don't think it's going to bring in a ton of new fans. I wish it would, but I think it will. I don't think that many people will dip out. I think there's a lot of people online who are saying that this is it, they're done, time of death. What was funny is I posted the video and somebody watched it like 4 in the afternoon, and they go, "That's it, time of death, DC, 4 in the afternoon." I'm like, "What, the video I just posted? Like, what do you mean?" The time of death when the announcement came out, not my video. I don't know how you can do with it, but at any rate, I think it's going to be a lot of the same. I think it probably on average, I think it will sell a little worse than regular old DC. And I say that only from the perspective of Convergence sold a little worse. I think that comic shops are going to be a little gun shy to go in on it heavy because they've been through this a few times before. What will change that is if over the next 30 to 40 days, DC kicks in a very strong marketing campaign to say, look, this is going to be a good comic. It's going to matter. The art is going to be good. The stories are going to count, and you need to get in on this and go. And I hope they do that. History tells us that they will screw that up, but I'm hoping for the best.
I agree, and I agree with you on that one. I hope for the best too. Who knows what it'll do, but yeah, again, who knows? I hope, but I will just say this: as you point out, going forward after Future State, if they do more of those $8 comics, so long as they have enough new stories and pages, to fill those the size for it all and everything, I'll put down money for it. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people will as well, so long as the stories matter and are not just like the 80-page giants that just have random stories that don't matter. If they do like that, they're not going to sell. But if they do it where these are story issues that matter with stories that matter, they're just putting them all into one book and a higher price point, and they do it and they keep it monthly, I think it'll work.
Yeah, it's 2 months, so it's gonna come and go very quickly. And I think one of the kind of double-edged swords
afterwards, if they do it afterwards.
Yeah. The thing about Future State is that on one hand, it will be very easy to dip in and try a few books, and I think some people will try a few books. But on the other hand, because it's only 2 months, it's going to be very easy for people to just sit on the sidelines and wait for things to kick back up again. And I think there will be a decent amount of that. It's hard, they just need to market the hell out of it and really push why it matters. I think that would be smart. Somebody mentioned earlier, I threw the comment on, but then we moved on a little bit. I do find it a little amusing that, before the images came out and was announced, there was a lot of kind of angst around a Latin America, South American Wonder Woman. And then people saw the drawings come in and they're like, look at that butt. And then I heard a way more positive comments after that art came out. I'm just saying, you know, men will be men, but it was funny.
This is where I keep on saying DC is better at handling this than others. And I think and again, I keep on saying this, Marvel keeps on having editors who, as you pointed out before, don't really care. DC clearly has editors, a lot of them that still care, and they want to make sure that the character is like, if she's an Amazon, make her look like an Amazon, damn it. Don't make her look like you know what I'm talking about, like a Tumblr artist's dream.
No, I think, you know, it's DC knows you put her in shorts and fans will go for it. It's funny how that works, you know.
Yeah.
But because there's some other comments worth getting to, but I want to answer this one. And hopefully your channel is doing well. Some people have subscribed to You Murdered This Guy, covering a lot of indie comics. Hope you have. Aftershocks We Live. That is a good comic. So I will do a review of that comic as well because I want to push that stuff. That is a damn good comic. I do think it's a solid book. And if you are wanting to branch outside of the big two, there are some really, or let's even say the big three, because this may be an unpopular opinion, but a lot of the creators go into Image. Image is starting to look like the big two more and more in a lot of ways. I think there's some great books being published, and this We Live is a very good book. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, so I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, it's good. I'll put up some stuff. I suspect he may have a review out there. So if he has, head over to his channel. You check it out. But there's some nice stuff up there. What do you do with this? So, and by the way, real quick before we get to this question, I did, you know, I changed the image. We got some comics there in the background. There was some good Moon Knight books out that time. This was a really solid Moon Knight run as well. A lot of good comics up there on the screen.
Oh, Rom, I miss Rom.
Sure. Yeah, they lost the rights, unfortunately.
I know, and IDW has them currently, but I miss Rom.
Yeah, no, there's some. I keep thinking, Marvel keeps saying, you know, we want to go back and put some effort into space and cosmic, and it's like, you know, you've got a bunch of characters.
Aside from Cates and maybe Ewing, they don't have anyone else and maybe Slott if he's ever in the mood for it. They don't usually have any people there who are good at handling cosmics. And I hate to say this, that includes Jason Aaron. I'm sorry. Even with his Thor run, he is not good with cosmics. He's good with these god characters, but cosmic itself, he is not. And you look no further than his Thanos miniseries.
Yeah, Jason Aaron is putting out a extremely weird Avengers run.
Oh yeah.
I've wanted to talk about that on a show, but I don't want it to turn into like a roast of Aaron. I met Aaron. Aaron is a very nice guy, by the way. If you meet him in person,
I met him too. Yeah, very nice guy.
Yeah, really good to fans. Will give you time. You know, he's a really good guy, but he is his Avengers run is really strange. Like it is. I'm not sure what he is doing on that comic, and I feel like with the Phoenix tournament that's coming out, like is somebody setting Aaron up to fail a little bit, because you've got, you know, X-Men that is built to this mega sword event, this contest of swords that's going on, and did somebody mention this to Jason Aaron? But they went ahead and allowed him to roll out his Phoenix tournament kind of a month later. Like that's going to take all the wind out of the sails of that event. I don't know. I'll be
honest. I'm sorry. I'll be honest. I'm confused by how is the Phoenix still around when they made it very clear after AVX that they finally took care of the Phoenix.
Yeah,
Didn't they say that the Phoenix was gone after that event?
No, well, I mean, yes and no. Like everything, they leave the door open that, you know, it could come back later and all the rest. It feels like somebody's daring Aaron to do things in that comic. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know how many people in the chat are actually reading the Avengers right now, but that is a profoundly weird book, given that it's the franchise book for Disney. In a lot of cases, that is a weird choice.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let me come back. Horizon Brave, I am going to come back to your question because this is a bigger question, but a couple of things really quickly here. I agree with this comment. I do think Marvel needs to need to have more faith, or they need to put a better foot forward. They have this like conveyor belt of a new character comes up. Maybe they hype it, maybe they don't. They put kind of a very half-hearted effort into it. They cancel the book, they come up with another new character, and around it goes. And I think if you look, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think it's because they want to come up with a new Ms. Marvel or whatnot. But at the same time, no, unlike Ms. Marvel, who, say what people will about it, was introduced just as a let's try this character out. She wasn't coming in to win for woke points. She was trying to fit a certain checkpoints, yes, but she wasn't initially handled that way. But I think G. Will Wilson was the last person to come in with an actual desire to do this. All these other ones wanted to do I want to create this character that's going to make me royalties or whatever, or make me recognized for creating the character. Which again, Willow Wilson was not doing that. She went in thinking this is a short miniseries. It'll probably be canceled and she'll be fly out into the night. But she said, I'm going to put my all into it. But you have these others like they're expecting greatness.
It's odd. Yeah, we have a lot of people not reading the Avengers. It is strange.
Do I make sense? Did I make sense?
Yeah, no, it is. I do think there's that behavior. I do think there's some creators who have some good ideas, but they're not putting their all into Marvel because they won't own the character. But it is like if you go back to the Avengers Academy days, or even kind of before that,
great characters. There
are a lot of characters introduced that are pretty compelling, pretty powerful, wide mix of races and genders and all that kind of stuff. And for me, I get really irritated when 2 years later we're wiping the floor clean of all of them and introducing more. And at some point, it's like, hey, you had me before. I invested money, invested time and energy into these cool new characters. Like in Avengers Academy, had a ton of good new characters.
Oh yeah.
And then, forget about them. Here's some more. And it's like, well, okay, so why should I invest another 2 years into liking these characters when they're probably going to disappear again? Like that's the problem.
And another thing that bothers me is even when creators have created new characters, like Dan Slott created Southpaw. Where has he been since the She-Hulk run? He introduced the person he introduced the guy who was supposed to mentor her, Paw or whatever. And didn't he get killed off during Avengers Academy or something?
It's just so much that era is largely been forgotten. And I'm not making a big argument of, hey, we have to love all continuity and be bound by it. But if you're going to put the effort into making a character and some IP and pushing them, like keep it going. You don't like Mosaic wasn't a great character when he came out. But if you're going to go through a marketing campaign, I don't know how long did that comic last? Less than 6 issues, I think. But like, where's that character now?
Where's Blue Marvel?
Sure. Well, yeah. Where is Blue Marvel? He just showed up somewhere. But yeah, your point is well taken. Like, you make these characters that are relatively interesting, and then you abandon them. And I think a lot of the anger that comes from fans of not wanting to accept new characters is in part because they did accept new characters like 2 or 3 years ago. You flushed them, and they're like, "What the hell? Why do I have to constantly come to new stuff?" That's my take on where a lot of that angst comes from. So
yeah, because like I said, I still remember. Like I said, I still have my Dan Slott She-Hulk run, and I love Southpaw. I love that character.
Yeah. No, there's some good stuff. And Slott, to the question, what's interesting is Slott put in a pretty decent Silver Surfer run. He has some good runs under his belt. I think Slott. Well, I think 2 things. One, I think Dan Slott shouldn't have more than one series going at once. I think things they seem to come off the rails, and I don't know if it's timing or what, but he seems to struggle with multiple monthly books, just in terms of time. It just seems to be a problem. And then 2, I think he does better when he's not on kind of big established characters with tons of history. I think he tends to put him on newer stuff.
She-Hulk being the exception.
Well, but she didn't have a lot of established history. She had some, but not like Iron Man or the Fantastic Four.
You're right, but enough for him to fix her.
Sure, I think he did. I think he did a decent job with the this Avengers Academy book. He did a good Silver Surfer run. I mean, you don't have to get completely new characters, but like the Fantastic Four has a very hardened history, and I think he tends to do, and his Iron Man run was just a mess in my opinion. But anyway,
Yeah, right. He was, but it's funny, he was great with the Fantastic Four when they were guest characters.
yeah. Here's a comment. So if the character doesn't sell and it's not popular, you can't drag it out and continue it. No, that's true. You can't just keep pushing.
No, that's true. That is true.
But some of these characters were quite popular. The Avengers Academy book sold pretty damn well.
Then they canceled it for what was it? Avengers Arena.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then they murdered all the characters off to bring in new ones. So very, very, very weird. Very, very weird. Yeah, I totally showed my face earlier. If you're late to the chat, you missed it. I was completely. Absolutely, that's true. Anyway, yeah, this that's true. I do love pulling out Mosaic. I'm sorry, I need to pull out something new. It just, I was burned. Keep in mind, I was running a comic shop at that time. I'm getting marketing materials. I'm getting this big push for Mosaic. They had the most archaic, stupid incentive plan over that book. And it was just like everyone knew that was going for. So,
who was Mosaic?
He was introduced in the ill-fated Inhumans run when the Inhumans were a thing, and he could hop into other people's bodies, as I recall. And it was
I'm looking at it right now, and he was promoted as Marvel's newest Black hero.
Yeah, well, I don't know if Marvel promoted him that way, but
that's what other websites are apparently.
That's what, yes. It goes back to our earlier comment. That's certainly what the people who run Marvel's marketing, who don't work for Marvel, were saying for sure. And we have a couple of people here who like it, so this is cool. Here's a guy who likes Aaron's Avengers. Good. I'm glad you like it. I again, something for everyone. Borvak actually introduces the exact moment where it went off the tracks for me, and it was this one. It was the hot tub issue where. What in the world? And I felt bad too, because there was an artist on that issue who I think was relatively new, or and they were coming. God, who was the artist right before that? It was somebody help me out in the chat. There's a big artist that comes in to Avengers from time to time.
McGinnis.
Yes, McGinnis. Thank you. McGinnis is on the comic, and then this issue's followed up, and it's an artist that didn't have as much control over their talents yet. Again, no shade, people will come into their own, but it was a very jarring change. And then this featured Cap and all the Avengers ultimately get into the hot tub, including She-Hulk, which goes in commando. And it's got like Captain Marvel covering Ghost Rider's eyes. And it's just like, it is one of those moments where you're like, oh, but anyway, again, it works for some people. That was a train off the tracks moment for me.
Hey, I got this. You're a long time Marvel reader than I am. I was just reading through the Heroes Reborn: The Return, which mostly focuses on Doctor Doom afterwards and everything. But one character I recognized right away that would get a different form and reappear later on was the Dreaming Celestial. Why did Marvel seem to always go back to that Dreaming Celestial ever since Neil Gaiman brought him back during Eternals? It felt like ever since he introduced him, where he was standing still in San Francisco or whatnot, and then the X-Men dealt with him, and then it just feels like they keep bringing him back up lately. What? And I know Aaron's done stuff with the Celestials. It's just like, what's with the obsession with the Celestials lately?
We've got an Eternals movie coming out. That's
true. But we already saw the Celestials, at least a dead one.
Yeah.
During Guardians.
Yeah, I mean the very simple answer is that's going to factor into Eternals somehow, and they're going to.
Even before that, from Gaiman's run onward, it's like now. I think that now, to be fair, I think the X-Men one was just because Gaiman set it up, and they felt like, hey, we're in the same area, might as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Celestials often are seen as like the big cosmic threat that people can wrap their heads around as a writer, and so I think they go to that well a lot. But I think we're going to see quite a bit in the next couple months. I think we're going to see quite a bit with that. So
yeah, I gotta say that was a crazy time for handling Doom during that post Heroes Reborn stuff.
Yeah.
He takes over the Counter Earth and everything, and he actually defeats Reed Richards at one point because Reed went crazy because he was stuck in the armor.
Yeah. No, I remember that. Yeah. That was
that was
where
some
they
interesting stuff.
that's why they put in
What?
Jack Kirby kind of in the comic. That was some crazy stuff.
No, 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 no. That was after that. That was well after that. What I just talked about was during Claremont's run. You're talking about Wade's run.
Oh, right. When Claremont relaunched it with Alan Davis.
Yep. Well, first it was Scott Lobdell that he got kicked off.
Yes. Sorry, I've got my timeline all wrong. This is what happens when you're 4 beers in. Clearly, I'm just killing that liver.
So.
I think so. Real quick. So this comment. So let's say you create a black new character. It bombs, doesn't sell. Do you keep pushing it despite people not feeling it? Well, no.
I wouldn't say I push it. I'd say I'd maybe keep the character, try to give it to someone else. But or no, better. Here's what I would do. And this has been tried and true in comics before. If they try to do it and it didn't work, you put them as a supporting character in someone's book, written by someone who does have a feeling for the character. Hopefully there's someone out there that does. And then let them just build it up. If it didn't work on giving it the marketing blitz, then build it back up again. It might take you in a different direction, but at the very least, you can get more people liking the character if you give it a second shot, but do it low key.
Yeah.
It's worked many times.
To continue the comment, it's like, unfortunately, if they make a new black character, it looks like they're just trying to make a checklist of quota characters and just forgetting the old one. Yeah. I think to some extent it does start to get that feeling. But it goes to, I think, take the race out of it, because I think that's a bit of a red herring. Because I think what's actually happening here is that you introduce a new character, you don't put a lot of thought or energy behind it, and it doesn't succeed. And so you get the same creative team, in many cases, same editor, same writer, others, and they create a new character, and big shock, it also doesn't work. And at some point, it's like, hey, maybe this particular creator shouldn't be making new characters. Maybe this isn't the right place for them. Like, who would just but Dan to them, hey, no, that's nice. Then cool, let him do that. Maybe you don't put Dan Slott on Iron Man for a second run. That probably would be a smart plan. So I think it's more kind of the repeating the mistakes. And the other factor there is you do have characters that have worked. I mean, you've had many characters where it's hit. It's been successful, and they seem to get impatient. I don't know why. Again, Adventures Academy, when it's selling, where a lot of books would be very, very happy to have those sales numbers today. Why would you then decide, hey, the best thing to do with these characters is to murder a bunch of them in kind of a cheap Hunger Games / Battle Royale ripoff, and then take a gamble on creating new ones? That just seems very, I don't know what the hell you're doing there. It's just, that seems really, really wasteful.
Agreed. But like I said, though, I say my method I suggested, it has been, like I said, it's been tried and true. That's usually how a lot of times it's gone. They usually give it to someone else, maybe make him a supporting character, or put him in a more low key scene. Look what happened with Riri. You finally get a writer that got her, and people have actually said she's tolerable, if not good.
Sure. Yeah. Almost any character can work. But it does take a strong writer. It takes a good vision. And I think that, anyway, it's
here's the other thing is these characters need to be created because the creator wanted to create a new character. It feels like so many times, and here's where I'm home. I could be way off, but it feels like the editors tell them, give us a new black character, and they decide to just pull one right out of their butt. And when they write it, even though they might think they're giving it this great dialogue, all they're really typing is, I'm black, y'all. I'm black, y'all. Or something like that. You know what I mean? Something like that, where it feels like that's what they are doing, because they've been assigned to do it, as opposed to saying, hey, I have this great character.
Yeah, I think that there's just a lot there. I think that there's writers who come into the mix, and they've got 3 issues, and so things like subtlety and character development kind of go out the window because they're trying to just rapidly kind of get their stuff out. I think that there's a lot of people who are trying to write what they think an editor wants as opposed to necessarily what the audience wants, I think that becomes another problem, because the goal isn't to necessarily kind of make a name on one comic. It's to get yourself established so you get more opportunities to write more books. And so, I mean, there's a lot there. I think that it just comes down to handling. I don't think there are bad characters. I think there's bad writers for those characters. Now, I'm sure a million people in the chat will prove me wrong by listing all the bad characters, but anyway.
But like I said, that's what I'm saying. No, like what my point was, is that those creators, it feels like when they come up with some of these characters, some of them are doing it because they were assigned to do it, where it is like a checklist filling, as opposed to, again, like look at Rhodey. He was introduced to be a specific character, the friend. And yeah, he took over as Iron Man for a while, but that was never meant to be permanent. And to be fair, Layton and Michelini never wanted him to be an armor wearer. It was only until Len Kaminsky took over, and also during Denny O'Neil's run, actually, is where he was Iron Man, but then becoming War Machine. But yeah, again, Layton and Michelini never saw it that way. They just have him be Tony's best friend. But then, of course, he eventually had others do it, and soon people loved him.
Yeah.
More so.
It's tough. I really like, by the way, Borvak, what you put here. I think this is a good philosophy. I think that you roll out new characters, you put a good, solid effort behind them. If they don't work, you don't erase them from existence, but you put them on the shelf. You let some other people, and you wait for a creator that finds an angle that works. And maybe
look at Rizzo. Look at Rizzo. With the Muppet comparison. Put
some in there. I think that's absolutely true. And this is so Cloak and Power Man, Luke. So there were what's weird to me is, and I've heard this from another, and I can't speak to it, but I've heard this from a number of people, customers, people who come into the shop, that some of these representations of characters that were done, many years ago in the 70s and the 80s, felt just more authentic, more real than what's being done today. And the one comment I've got is similar to what we said earlier. It's just, it felt like there was more investment. Like Cloak had many issues to kind of tell his story and do his thing. And today, these characters are lucky if they get 6 issues. And the storytelling today of severe deconstruction means that you don't really ever get to any defining moments. It's just so fast. It just goes by too fast.
And the funny thing is, though, a lot of these characters were created by people who weren't Black, and yet they were able to write these characters believably, either because they knew people or because they felt, I have a good understanding and feeling for all this. I feel like when they keep on trying to do this whole, we need to make these characters match, writers match the characters. It's unfortunate when you start getting creators who are coming in and basically just want to, put in their experience or put in their idealized experience. I'm not saying this happens to all creators, but given the track record, especially at Marvel, it just feels like they go more for the stereotypes as opposed to trying to be nuanced.
Yeah, but how nuanced can you be when you've got 3 issues or 6 issues to do it, and you're writing in a severely deconstructed way? I think you look at, and again, I definitely took some heat over the review I did last week of Marauders, but your story fundamentally was, Storm needs a sword. She's going to go to Wakanda. She's going to steal this sword, and she's going to take it back to be part of this tournament. That's what the story that needs to be told. And if you look at the pacing of that story, it's hard to really root for this character because she's got a long history with Black Panther and Wakanda, and in theory, a lot of faith and trust and support of the people. Yet her kind of explanations for, hey, this could mean the end of the world, was very soft pedaled. They spent several pages of her, having food, kind of talking things over. It was.
They wanted a conflict, despite the fact that it didn't fit the character.
Yeah, it didn't fit the character, and it didn't fit the history of what the character had done, and it took away, frankly, a lot of good character development, including even more recent character development. I think one of the characters that Ta-Nehisi Coates actually wrote pretty well was Storm, when she would show up in Black Panther. And there was even character development there that was kind of thrown out the window. So I'm not making a case that you need to pay attention to all past continuity and everything else. It's just when you're telling what is a extended story, because there are extra pages in that story, and you're spending multiple pages of her kind of having dinner, then changing into her costume, and then tons of captions. I miss the thought bubbles too. Somebody said that in the chat. It's like you're not doing this character any favors, and it's reducing the character a lot more than increasing the character.
It reminds me of in the America Chavez. Oh, we got to talk about that at some point. But you know, where they had Storm appear, and it's like, oh, she's talking about safe words and all that. And it's like, when would Storm ever, even back then, be talking about safe words?
Well, it's taking modern, and this is a style that you see in movies and you see other places take kind of modern language and kind of insert it into other things. This is to the point of the thought bubbles. I do think that removing the narrative captions, removing the thought balloons, it did become more like a movie script. It did lead to a lot of feel like in some cases very hollow decompression, and it's taken a lot of nuance and things out. I'm never going to get this right, by the way.
What?
My pronunciation is absolute shit. I'm sorry. Absolutely. Anyway. Anyway, it's tough. I think that it's not just you I don't know. Anyway, it's tough. Somebody asked here. We kind of got away. There's some good questions that ran out. Does it make sense that Luke Fox become the new Batman? I mean, as much as anyone, I think Luke Fox was Batwing, or the second Batman, I guess. And so I think that makes sense. I would say that
they're part of the Bat family. I say, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Luke Fox, the money is with Lucius Fox right now, and in theory, the ability to kind of manage some of this stuff. So I think and storyline wise, I think it makes sense. I think Duke Thomas would have made less sense, even though. I think Brian Edward Hill did a pretty good job of that character, providing a lot of depth there. I think Nightwing has his own established identity. I think the same thing with Jason Todd.
And he just got back to being, got back from being Rick. So,
yeah, I think Luke Fox makes a decent level of sense, given again the Batwing history and kind of what he means to the character. I think it fits. I don't think this is where, and there's a ton of people that disagree with me, and I know some videos have been made about me saying I'm an idiot for saying stuff like this, but I just have a hard time. Put it this way: I think some of these decisions, like for example, the Luke Fox one, if people at DC are sitting around going, you know what we need? We really need a black guy as Batman. That's what we need. That's what's going to put us on the map. I have a hard time picturing some of those conversations.
Yeah, it's like I said before about with the Joker Warzone story. Now, I could so imagine if it was another Marvel editor, we would have gotten character assassinations of the Fox family because they would have let him go all the way without questioning him. I can imagine John really making suggestions like we have the entire Fox family be all in and then keeping the money and everything. But at least you have an editor saying, no, let's not do that. Then he's like, okay, how about this? I can see that, again, him throwing the idea out, but not going in for a malicious way, just saying like, oh, he doesn't know the character, so he goes for that suggestion. They're like, no, here's what the character would do. Okay. Yeah. Again, and that's the difference between DC and Marvel. DC, they have more editors who would point to them saying that doesn't fit the characters. Marvel's like, do what you want. They're your mouthpiece.
Well, not complete. I'll take it. I don't think it's as stark as that, but there is definitely some difference.
I know, but that's the feeling.
I think I'll say this as well. In terms of the Luke Fox story, I would love for DC to not have. I mean, just to somebody doesn't always have to be named Batman. Yeah, I agree. However, there's probably more than 1 million sales reasons why you call him Batman. I mean, at the end of the day, they've tried other experiments, and titles that have Batman on the name sell more comics. But it is what it is. I agree. I do think it's time to branch out. I don't know War Party on Indiegogo, but hey, why not? Werewolves, naked natives, and thought balloons. When I go check out War Party, I want to see that thought balloons are listed there as the bullet points of features. I want to see thought balloons up there. But
I'll
yes,
say this, unfortunately, sorry.
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
You want to know who I blame for getting rid of thought balloons? I hate to say this, Archie Goodwin was the one who really pushed that.
Yeah. No.
Believe it or not.
It's been a slide for a while.
I know, but I'm saying, but he pushed it for Long Halloween. Jeff Loeb, was like, okay, hey, it works. Long Halloween was a hit, and I think other editors started picking up afterwards, because that's when it really started, was around the time of Long Halloween. And like I said, Loeb said it was a Goodwin's idea to do that.
There were a number of, and I'm sure that is a big case. There were a number of writers around that time who were really kind of bad mouthing it and saying it was keeping comics feeling antique by doing that. I think,
I will admit there are some cases where thought balloons do give that bit more of a goofy vibe compared to the captions. And there's also then the case where you have captions that you can use it to mislead on whose thoughts they are. Which that I like. You can never do that with thought balloons. Yeah.
No. I think it's something we've lost. I agree. If with all of Wayne's money, I think there was a smarter way for him to fight crime. They never quite got to that. And somebody mentioned before, Lucius Fox keeping the money does seem weirdly out of character. Maybe they were trying to.
But he's still affected by the Joker stuff. He's still affected by the Joker.
He is. It's but I do agree that's a clunky moment, and I'm sure when all is said and done, the money gets back to Bruce.
I agree. But like I said, I think it's clunky, but it's there. I think this was the editor's way of meeting really halfway. I'm positive he went in wanting to go a bit more extreme, and they're like, let's meet halfway and do this. That's probably why we have Luke and Tam being the only ones who are truly defending, saying, giving it back to Bruce. And because, again, I have a feeling he was going to have a they all were in for it. But they say, nope. So it's like, okay, we'll have these two actually have ties to the Bat family be against it.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. I could be wrong, but that's the feeling I got reading that story in Warzone.
Yeah, and I think but I also think they're setting up a dynamic where it's not going to be cozy between Lucius and Luke. And I think they're setting up a few different elements there. I'm curious what they do with Luke post Future's End, what kind of he becomes and all the rest. But I do wish they'd start making some identities beyond Batman and putting some effort there. But it is what it is. This question, there's not an easy answer here. And it probably would take another hour to kind of go into all the details. A comic doing well when you factor in trades, price of comics, and digital. I'll say a few things off the cuff that aren't 100% correct. So I just want to say that going in. You could pick apart what I'm about to say. First of all, digital is a non-factor by and large for sales numbers. Now, there's a couple exceptions, but it's definitely the exceptions that prove the rule. And in the U.S., digital is nothing. And that's a really screwed up element to how digital kind of factors into things. There's definitely kind of a budget that gets set for a comic. And that budget kind of entails a certain how many comics you can make out of this run. Usually it's not like, here's one issue, here's $30,000. It's more, hey, here's $60,000. Can you make 6 issues with that? It's more, that's kind of how the math gets done. And that's one of the big flaws that I know a number of other YouTubers, when they've done analysis on this, they think issue by issue, and they need to think run by run. Because that's why, by the way, you'll see things like a superstar artist comes on for like 3 issues and then they're replaced by a much cheaper artist. That's what's going on there. They're trying to fit the budget for a run. And then trades is a much tougher one because there is some math done for trades, but in some cases those trades can still be returnable in cases where they're not returnable to a comic shop. So it depends on where it goes. One of the more aggravating things that I think is happening right now is why DC and Marvel aren't pursuing more kind of Walmart, Target, those kinds of stores as putting out like a trade once a month that is curated for that market. Like if you were to put out White Knight as an example, it's a complete story beginning to end, and you put it out in Target, and then the next month you put out, a good solid 6 issues of Wonder Woman in a nice set, that would sell really well on that, but they're not making that product. So that's just a confusion.
Sorry.
Yeah, jump in.
Can I give I just had a thought pop in my head. okay, you've read the Strange Adventures issue, the recent one, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you've probably seen how certain people out there have been calling it a character assassination of Mr. Terrific. I gotta say, that was another reason why I did my video I did yesterday, because at first I initially saw it that way, but then I gave it thought was in the context of the story, which is probably what King was doing. I don't agree that was character assassinating Mr. Terrific. Like, oh, it's racist that he's trying to, that King's writing him as a black man who didn't want to be a father. I realized it was more of a case where, no, I'm pretty sure King is giving, not King, Mr. Terrific is giving Alana a bunch of balls to lower her guard.
I disagree, but it will play out. We'll see. I don't think that was a fake story. I think
No,
it
I'm not
was.
saying it was a fake story. I'm saying what he said at the end about him feeling relief at the end. I think that part, I think he said that to try and get that reaction from Alana, because he's trying to read for her where she's thinking about what happened to her daughter. So I think he was trying to do that to get her into thinking, I'm on the same wavelength as you.
Yeah, I don't. So I think that was, I think that they were, I think he's going into some darkness into the character. I think that he meant how it came across. But we'll see. We'll see. I think the next couple issues will tell that story. We'll have to come back and see what happens.
I'm just thinking about King's been handling him so far, and how he seems to be a smart enough man to realize Alana's not going to just tell me up front, I got to lower her guard, get her to lower her guard. That felt a bit more, given the topic of their daughter, of her and Strange's daughter.
Yeah, we'll see. I hope your take is the correct one. But I also think that there is a desire, especially with some of these characters, to provide a darkness, and it's their way of kind of injecting nuance into the character. But I think that was a misfire. I think I didn't like it
because it makes it feel like, it feels like they're trying to, going with like, oh, we're trying to go for darkness, but you're going for a stereotype.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a whole other bag of worms there. But I think that we'll see. I'm hoping that it plays out that this was a way to kind of manipulate and or get information out of her. I hope that's what they were doing. For those of you who are wondering what we're talking about right now, this is Tom King's Strange Adventures in the newest issue. Mr. Terrific is basically relaying a story
to Strange's wife.
Yeah, to Adam Strange's wife. That he was relieved when the child didn't make it because he wasn't ready to be a father, basically.
Yeah, and of course that really gives like a bad implications.
Yeah, I didn't care for that. I thought it was.
Oh, I didn't either. But maybe how the story's been going.
Yeah, maybe it's a trick, but it felt a lot more like this was an attempt to kind of bring some darkness into that character, and I hope not, because I really dislike that moment. But anyway, I don't know if we answered all of your question here about comics and everything else, but I mean, there is more to it. There's certainly, as people look at it and they look at the Comic-Con sales figures, Comic-Con is not all inclusive. Something Comic-Con will tell you themselves. They're very upfront with that. In the floppies, and then as well, there is a desire to kind of build up the IP. There is a desire to put stuff out on trades, as mentioned here. There's a bigger picture here. I think Marvel is doing. They're putting some weight behind Miss Marvel. They do want to stand behind this character and work with them. In many cases, they've cheapened what it costs to create Miss Marvel. So it's they're still able to make a profit. The definition of doing well is really fungible, because doing well to them could be creating great IP that they're going to then license somewhere else, or it could be selling the comic. I will say from Marvel Disney's perspective, doing well rarely means the individual sales of that floppy. To them, doing well is there's additional license opportunities, there's additional places we're going to take this character, we're keeping the brand alive. It's more along those lines. So anyway, a lot of comments have gone on in the chat. We'll go for about 15 minutes more or so. I realize it's late for a lot of people. Thank you for staying up late with us. Hopefully you're having a good drink. You had a good week. It was definitely a crazy week with all this stuff going on. I feel like I've missed a couple great comments in here, but
yeah.
it is. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
It's been a long.
I was gonna agree.
Yeah, I feel exhausted. It's been an exhausting week, and I think I'm glad that the news is finally out, and that people can react to it, and we can kind of move on a little bit. I think the next date to look forward to will be. It'll probably skip past Thanksgiving. It'll be the first week of December or the second week of December. That's going to be the next date to really pay attention to. It's going to come a little earlier, and that's when we start seeing the big creative teams being announced for DC in March. And I would expect one or two to come out earlier than that. I would expect some hype. I think DC, based on kind of their new VP of marketing and some of the other things they're doing, I think when they announce these new books, they're going to try and put a lot of buzz behind what they do and really they're really going to put those big things out there. So
here's hoping.
Yeah, well, I mean, if they're good, I think we'll see. It now will be the chance for people to really kind of put up or shut up, because I think the comics are going to get a lot closer to the movies and some of these other properties, and they're not going to be as experimental, which some people have been asking for. But in doing so, they may lose a lot of their nuance and complexity that people have been like. I think there's been some discussion around ruining characters and everything else. I like this take because I think we need to be more fearless about, if a character is ruined, or if we don't like something, people should be comfortable saying that they don't like something. They should discuss it. They should.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to argue that. Yeah,
we should be able to roll it out. We should be able to roll it out without it being the end of the world. And I think a lot of people they can do that. It's not all, but in turn, we should avoid the knee-jerk reaction. And even if the person seems a little heated and mad, maybe too upset about this event, the knee-jerk reaction of saying, well, you stupid idiot, you don't like comics, or you're one of those. I mean, that just triggers a work response. It just
I say this, give them a day or so to calm down. Maybe they could look at it again from another perspective. If they hold on to it, though, for a few days and don't even think anything beyond their assumptions, I hate to say it, that's where I'd be like, dude, maybe there's another way. I don't fully agree with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean, that's where certain people out there, I feel, have kind of fallen back into that trap again. One in particular, I'm not going to say who I thought was starting to get out of it, is starting to fall back into it.
It's the nature of everything. We're on the knife edge of a lot of tension, whether it's politics, whether it's the virus, whether it's comics, whether it's anything. Everybody's very keyed up, and so it's like diffusing would be like more people should try and diffuse rather than jump in and have a good fight. But a lot of us are itching for a fight because we're cooped up and we want to have a good brawl. So it is what it is. Working down some other comments really quick. We'll just kind of do this a little quickly here. How do you think stores are going to order the future state event? I think they're going to under order. So if you're a collector, I think I think shops are going to be very reserved, both because of the virus, because of convergence, because of what they've known in the past. I think stores are going to
price.
And the price, absolutely, and the price. So for some of these things that hit, I think the new Wonder Woman has a chance of hitting. I think some of the other smaller books have a chance of hitting. I think if they do a good job, I'll say this out for Ian, Stephanie Brown, if that story is solid, I think the ones that are going to hit are going to be rising in value, because I think stores are going to under order quite a bit. So we're talking about a lot of temporary stuff. I don't know where to begin. What's the thoughts on Death Metal #4?
I enjoyed it, but at the same time, it did feel like you needed it was more wrapping up what was done in the one shots.
Yeah. I think I'm going to get an angry email about this, but Death Metal, it feels like it lost its thread at some point. It's hard to, and maybe it's the shipping schedule or everything else. It feels all over the place, and the missions, there's like I have too many questions, and what I'm trying to do is get my brain to just not care and just enjoy the ride, which I'll have a much more fun reading experience if I can do that. But I'm looking at this and it's like, well, wait a minute, you took the Alfred boxes in here, and then 2 of you failed, but then that one of you succeeded, and that's good. But then, I should say spoilers. I should shut up now. At any rate,
that's all right.
No, there's people. There's things in this comic that are just like, wait a minute, what? Why did this matter then? If you did that, then and this happened, then why did any of this other stuff matter?
To
And
be
what?
honest, here's where I think. I think if there's
Yeah.
any problem, it's because he got all that freedom with the deal gone. I think we're reaching a point now where the deal was gone and he got to do what he wanted.
Yeah, but it's making a comic like death metal where if like should you read death metal or should you save up your money and then just go all in on Future State or the new DC or just something else? It's making it harder to understand like what am I in for exactly? If you love kind of crazy fun, the first Metal delivered on that. It was just crazy and a lot of crazy concepts, and this one feels a little bit more like it wants to be crazy fun, over the top, but it also wants to connect a bunch of things with DC. It also wants to kind of repair some continuity, and it also wants to tie in some of this other stuff. And by the way, there's a lot of pressure on it, which is why we've elevated like who is the villain? Is it the Batman who laughs? Is it
Yeah.
Perpetua? Is it the new Batman? Is it some combination of all these? Like what?
I can definitely tell you it was always going to be the Batman who laughed, given how he was already planning this well before Doomsday Clock came about.
Yeah, it's just I find it. I can't quite get to the place where I'm just turning my brain off and having fun, and I want to, and I'd like to, and there's all this other stuff going on. It feels like it's getting lost in the shuffle, to be honest, for me. But a lot of people really enjoy it, and more power to you. I hope you do. But
Too many Jokers sounds like the next Black Label. But
that's a great comment. We got to get. Yeah, this is the next Black Label sequel to Too Many Jokers. I love it. All right, I went down and now I lost a bunch of stuff. What music? What music do you listen to? What do you listen to?
I listen to all kinds. I have nothing specific. I don't have specific bands or type. It's just whatever I've listened to before that, that if like, oh, I like it. What is it? Oh, I like it. And if I feel the need to listen to it, I do. I'm random like that.
I'm drawing my comic, and when I'm drawing, I've found there's certain music that works and certain music that doesn't. I like all kinds of music too. I don't like country, but other than that, I like pretty much all music. I'm finding when I'm drawing a comic, the Postal Service is it works. I don't know why. I just draw faster. It's steadier. It works. So that's what I've been listening to a lot, because I'm rounding the corner on 65 pages, going on 70 pages right now. So
wow.
I'm just trying to crank this stuff out. So I didn't mind Grayson. It was a different take. I thought it was fine.
I thought Grayson was very good.
Yeah, I thought it was. I didn't think it changed the character, but I didn't think it changed. Like, it wasn't one of those jarring, this change doesn't make any sense.
It was fresh. I think it was fresh.
Yep. I don't like J-pop,
by the way.
Yeah, I'm not
K-pop.
Somebody said in the chat. No J-pop. No dancing J-pop. No.
All right.
Yeah. Let's see. Wade, Mars Mags. Wade's doing something. I think Ron Mars is
all negative. I'm sorry. I have to disagree with that. Mars and Wade, again, they may be assholes as people, but if they actually are feeling the project, they are great writers. I think Wade has been just chugging things out because he doesn't feel it. Maybe going back to DC will. Mars, I don't know about what he's written currently, but again, both of them very great writers. Mags is the only one I won't argue about.
Mars is on. Mars is on.
No, I'm talking about their writing style and skill in general.
Yeah, I don't think Mars has a longer place with DC, so I don't think Mars's name comes up in March. I also don't think Mags's name comes up in March.
Mags is perfectly fine when it comes to minis and one shots.
Yeah, I don't think I think the only one of these three that's really going to be part of March for that buzz is Wade. But that's my quiet prediction.
I'm sorry, I'm just getting a little tired of people forgetting just how good these writers are and just judge it based off of how they've been, interacting with things.
Yeah, it's Cheers to people who came. Yes, absolutely. There is an argument about sales that I don't know where it began now, so I'm not going to quote. I'm glad you guys have been having it in the chat, and it looks like a pretty good argument. I mean, a good argument, not a good argument. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
I think I know what you mean.
No, it's like you guys are awesome. You're learning stuff. It's all good. With Dididio gone, why is the Wally Bruce continue? You know what? I don't get this. So I posted this on Twitter today. I don't know what this obsession is with Wally. Like, here's an area, and I get the point, and I've argued about this in some other places, but I don't think you give the fans, like, you don't just say, you tell us what to write and we'll write it. It can't be that simple, because you've seen a lot of fanfic that fans produce, and a lot of that stuff is a disaster. You shouldn't publish all that. But you should also listen to kind of trends with fans. Like, if fans say, hey, we really love Wally West. Wally West is a character we like. If you produced a Wally West comic, we would buy it. And you hear that, consistently. I think you should say, oh, okay, I should produce that comic. And if instead you're like, you know what we should do? We should make Wally West a serial killer. He has this accident. Let's really torture the character. Well, first let's forget him for 5-6 years, and then let's bring him back, and then let's have him murder some people. And it's like, at some point you're like, hey, this is one of those times where you should listen to the fans. Like, you shouldn't do everything the fans say, but the fans are giving you a pretty clear message that they would like to buy Wally West stuff. And continuing to, put Wally in situations like with Future State, where it's like, apparently he's gone evil and killing people. It's like, why are you doing?
I think this book was just in the can beforehand, and I think that it just happened to be,
Yeah.
I mean, right? I think this was in the can before. What?
Yeah, to this question exactly. Now, there are at least some story beats and other things that Wade set up that are playing out in Future State, and I think Wally being evil is one of them.
Wade.
Huh? Dan Didio. I don't know.
Yeah, he said Wade.
I don't know what I'm saying. I'm trying to read two things at once. I think there were things that Didio put in place that are playing out in Future State, and I think Wally is one of them. And Didio didn't like Wally for reasons he's listed that seem stupid to me, but he's right. He has a right to his own opinion, I guess. But this is a case where, hey, DC, you have had enough time to pull the plug and not go down this path. And I think it wanders from, hey, this is our plan for the character, we're not going to change it, to almost the fans start to feel like you're mocking them. But with this,
especially when he's starting to fix them.
Yeah, it is exactly right. It is. So I do think that, this is remnant of storylines from February. However, we're now talking about a comic in January. There was enough time to do something different here. And I do think it's a case, even back in February, where, look, you saw the reaction with Heroes in Crisis. Stop doing that. Stop, literally at this point, it feels like you're trolling the fans. It doesn't feel like you're telling your own story. It feels like you're intentionally screwing with them. And that is dumb. That would be as dumb as if the comic publisher said, you know what, we have no ideas. The fans will just tell us what they want. You send in your fan fiction, and then we'll hire artists and draw it and publish it. That would also be dumb. But with Wally, what are you doing? What in the hell are you doing? I don't.
Especially when you have both Williamson and Snyder fixing him.
Yeah, I mean, they keep putting effort into, John's kind of tries to repair it a little bit, and then
Williamson came up with a great one in his second to last issue.
He did, yes. He came with the good ripcord there with the Reverse Flash kind of influencing him. That was a good out.
And Lobdell did a good job fixing it, but was out. In both cases, none of them are denying the fact that Wally still killed those people by accident. I think that's the big thing. If it wasn't an accident, I think they would have gone into more effort. But the fact it was an accident, they felt like, yeah, it happened. It's not how the Speed Force works. That was the dumbest part. It's like, that's not how it works.
It's just weird. It's very weird, and it does cross over into. It feels like like I said, it feels like you're trolling the fans. It feels like you're intentionally kind of giving the finger to fans, and you shouldn't have, whether it's intentional or not. I'm sure it's not intentional, but regardless, once you start to give that vibe off to your fan base, you have done the wrong thing. You are on you are on the wrong track. Speaking of Tom King and Bendis, what are other writers that start out promising, ending up writing less quality work? Bluntly, I would argue all of them. I think this happens to everyone eventually. I think Claremont's later work was nowhere near the level of kind of his initial run. I think everyone has a peak. I mean, honestly, I'm trying to think of a writer that's just been strong forever. I mean, sure there are some, but I think
Jeff
everybody
Johns.
has. No, he's written some clunkers too, though.
Very few.
I don't know. Some of his, I would argue some of his New 52 Justice League run was very forgettable.
You're allowed to be wrong.
No, everybody has different opinions. I just,
I know. I'm messing.
Yeah, of course. I don't understand this question. Which do you think had a bigger impact first, metal or death metal? I don't.
I know what they're asking. Which one do you think had a bigger impact on the overall universe? Like how the things would happen, and by the end of it all and all that. I say metal. I say metal had a bigger impact than this one. This one feels like the fact that it opened up was everything changed right off the bat, whereas metal, you had to lead into the changes. I think already tells you all you need to know about this story.
Yeah, I think that I think I probably agree. I think death metal also had so many things leading into it.
So many things leading into it, but the fact that the jumping off point happened off screen and everything, and how you had the Justice League were missing, and yet you have things moving on. At least with death metal, you had a point where you knew where things, thanks to the Batman run and everything, where things kind of broke off.
Yeah.
Here you
I don't know.
have no idea. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, absolutely. Daniel Cherry III. Again, I think that the March solicits are going to be a lot less dramatic than people think.
And again, even then, I don't think that's going to be under his tenure still.
No, well, some will. I think the marketing, the press. I mean, Cherry's a marketing guy, and I think we're going to see if finally DC, bluntly, can pull their head out of their ass and do decent marketing. And if they can't, then I don't even know what to say about you bring in a interior marketing shark and you get crap marketing. You gotta do something here. So I think, but I don't think the March solicits are going to be as dramatic as a lot of people are claiming. The sky is falling. I think it will be a lot more safe than you think. And I think
the sky is falling. What else is new?
No, but it's keep in mind the goal, regardless of everything, is I'll die on this hill. And if I'm wrong, I will admit it. I've admitted when I'm wrong constantly. I think that you are seeing a DC closely aligned with AT&T and movies and Warner Media and everything else you're doing. And I think playing it safe is going to be the most common, the most likely output of what they're going for.
I agree.
We'll see. Maybe it will all be crazy. Anyway, what else do we got? Extra douche. Yeah, see, here's somebody else. He's a travesty, in my opinion. There you go.
Okay, okay. I will give you that about Hal. But again, he was going for a Hal. That was more in the first arc, and that was early day Hal. Who, let's be honest, Johns always wrote early day Hal as a douche.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Hal's been a douche.
He always wrote early day Hal, which is what that first arc was. When they got to present day, well, we didn't see much of Hal during present day.
No, that's true. No, it's I don't know. It just goes to show
the first arc, and that's
exactly. Sorry? It's all good. It's all good.
I'm sorry, because that's why I always look at things more beyond just the initial reaction. I look at like you said in the past. But I think of it, Hal and Jeff always did treat Hal as a douche when he was younger. Look at Secret Origins. Yeah. He was a complete douchebag.
He was. No, it's I by the way, I agree a little bit with this. I think George Jones ruined Hal. I think Ron Mars had a hand in ruining Hal, and so not Hal, but the Green Lantern stuff as well, to some extent. But
have you ever seen what George Jones had in mind for Green Lantern?
No.
For number 50 or initially. Oh, it was going to be that okay, during Gerard Jones's run, the Guardians had left with these female Guardians, and they were going to get busy with it. And eventually, they would have come back, and they would have had new Guardians, children and everything. And basically, scenes would have gone from there in a different direction. That was more. It's still going to.
Yep. Oh, you got cut off there.
Anything.
All right, we got some audio problems there from Robert, which is a good sign. Actually, we are heading to the end here, so we'll go ahead and start to wrap this up. You're having a few audio problems, but that's good. It is pretty good. Real quick, this question: Williamson has left Flash. He had his last issue a month ago. We have his replacement. There was some talk that his replacement would keep going, but now it looks like maybe not. So it's hard to.
Yeah, especially didn't they say this first issue, the end of the first issue, was going to be this big dramatic moment? Dr. Alchemy's coming back. How is that a big dramatic moment?
Yeah, I don't think he was set up to fail to some extent because he's only getting 2 or 3 issues in the can before it's getting halted and then kind of whatever the relaunch is. I'll end with this question. Somebody didn't ask it here, but we've seen it. 2 quick things. So first, what do you think? People in the chat, Robert, what do you think? Do you think that we are getting new #1 issues, or are they going to keep the numbering intact? Do you think they're going to reboot everything or keep it going?
They might do with everything except action and detective.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
I think they might with those. If they do, I'm not sure, but if they will, I'm pretty sure those ones. And maybe Flash, maybe not.
Yeah, so you're going. We're not getting. We're getting a bunch of new #1s.
Yeah. I do think we're going to get. Well, I'm not sure. Again, I don't know for certain. That might be the best time for them to do it, but don't quote me on it.
I dearly hope you're wrong, but I suspect you are. I do suspect you are right. I do think we're going to get a lot of #1s and a lot of startovers. Absolutely, unfortunately. So, okay. Let's see. We got a lot of. We are trying to wrap this up. So thank you for putting some other questions here. Hey, next week, by the way, we will be back at the normal time. Let me know again in the chat if you like the later time, earlier time, but generally we'll be back to the earlier time next week. And I'm still cranking out videos. At some point, I'm gonna ease it back here. 3 videos a day is too many videos, but I'm still clearing out some old material. Which careful listeners can tell which is old, which is not, based on when I'm in a car. But it's been a crazy week. I really appreciate all the support that everybody has given the channel. Really pretty amazing. I don't really pay attention to numbers and everything, but I know that a lot of people show up to listen to me ramble on. So thank you very much for that. I do think Reminder's a Scumbag can be a pretty decent comic. We'll see. I'm interested. And then thank you, Borvac. Yes, I am making a comic we've talked about before. How about next week? I'll show some pages. I'll show like 4 or 5 pages and see what you guys think.
Cool.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I'm still not doing super chats, so I do encourage you take your money and you buy comics with it, or liquor, even better. Do that for me. I appreciate that. And God, what else is going on? A couple of other things. I don't know. Oh, crowdfunding. Like I said, I've mentioned this before. When I do the comic, I'm going to do it what I'm calling show the math style. So what I'm going to do is film videos or show screenshots or everything of putting it up in the hopes that that's instructive or helpful for other people. I'm not trying to make money off of it. The goal is not to make money. And frankly, I don't even care if I lose money on it. The money that I'm forced to, I feel like I'm forced. It is. I definitely can see the impact by putting ads on the videos on YouTube, which I still hate to my depth of my soul. But if you don't do that, I definitely see YouTube does not promote and put stuff out there. Like there is a definite consequence if you don't put ads up. And I think that's really crappy. But anyway, there you go. So I'm making them money, but I'll take a lot of the money from this channel and put it toward the comic. So you're kind of funding my comic by just watching the videos. So cool. There you go. That's what you're doing. I don't. Why are people mad at Ravinder? He really hates Trump. I guess that's probably the best way to say it. Thank you very much. I'll pass along. Mrs. Perch had a wonderful birthday a couple days ago, so thank you to everyone who sent some nice message around. So there you go. And Robert, thank you for joining me on this stream tonight.
No problem. No problem at all. Hey, I might have a stream on Sunday if you're welcome to. It's going to be me and Ian Miller.
Oh, nice. Very good. Well,
yeah, we're going to have it around, I guess it'll be not, it'll be in the afternoon for you. It'll be around 6:30 Eastern, so 3 o'clock, 3:30 your time.
Well, thank you.
If you want to join. If you want to join.
Well, at the very least, I'll show up and I'll be in the chat and listen around.
Yeah.
But thank you again, everybody. Everything helps. I appreciate the comment suggestions. Thank you, everybody, for having a good time. And yeah, I put out some bait on Wes's show. Like, you guys can, how you want to make fun of me, and nobody really did that. So, take your shots, man. It's fun. Anyway, thank you, everybody. And that's where I'll shut down the chat. So thank you, everybody, for joining. And I'll talk to you all later. Have yourself a great night. Thanks for listening.